So hi everyone, it's now 4 days until my first road performance on Saturday, and last night my wife helped me move my rig over here into a space in our kitchen where I can set it up, and that's kind of as a test to be able to see how it's all going to hook up with the improvements I made to the connections between the rack and the main part and all of the stuff I did to really make this a streamlined move in, plug it all in, plug it all out, move out, and get out of the way for the next show, because that's the nature of Fringe Festival, is it's you gotta pile in and pile out. Also in this space, the next thing that's going to happen is test out the speaker system. This is the same speaker system I used last year. For the small space I'm playing in, they'll do just fine. So I've got to hook up the amplifier and set that up, and so tonight's rehearsals are going to be done that way. Earlier today I had to go drive south of town here and take care of some things with a couple of Rogers organ installations. I work for the Rogers Organ Company and just had to go take care of that. Came home, rested for a bit, and now I'm back at it to get this all ready to go. So yesterday, after I shot the video, I did some rehearsals. I did a couple of run-throughs back in the studio, and then we moved it out here, and I did a couple of run-throughs here. Did not have a freeze problem, but what I did do was shut everything down at the end of each run-through, wait 20-30 minutes, and then fire it all back up again. I did have one startup freeze on the Studio Logic keyboard, but I did not have a freeze during the performance. So I'm hoping that that's going to be the case when we start doing the shows on Saturday. Now, I also was looking for what are some possibilities, what's going on, what's unique about preset 33 and 38 that would cause those two to be the problem spots. And so just looking at how all of this goes together and functions. So it's a little disjointed right now. Ideally, I would want the setup with the two keyboards, the bass pedals, to all go into the computer and trigger sounds on the pipe organ emulator Hopwerk. Now, the reason I can't completely go over to Hopwerk is because I'm having to, because of other setups with the looper and the effects processors, for about half the music I'm playing at the festival, I'm still kind of stuck with the sounds that I used off of the Roland C200 keyboard in certain places. So I kind of had to keep it functioning, using its sounds for certain rhythmic things that I set up. So I have, from the Roland keyboard, I have the audio output going into the RC600 looper. I have a MIDI output, and this is where we might be looking at another issue. The output from here is also used so that I can play Hopwerk sounds from this keyboard. Now, this keyboard has very limited MIDI capabilities. It's basically just a fixed setup. It also has several things that are proprietary within the MIDI system. So this keyboard is always sending channel 1, channel 12, 13, and 14. Those are the standard channels used by Roland and Rogers for keyboard equipment. Now, what could that possibly mean? Well, the MIDI output, in order to get into the computer, has to merge through the Studio Logic keyboard. It's the same thing with my bass pedals. The MIDI output of the bass pedals comes up into a merge box from MIDI Solutions, and the output of the C200 goes into that same merge box. Then that goes into the MIDI input of the Studio Logic keyboard and is merged into the MIDI signal that's going over to the computer. So basically the Roland keyboard is playing its own sounds and some of the sounds from Hopwerk. The Studio Logic keyboard and the bass pedals are playing sounds exclusively from Hopwerk. What is unique about presets 33 and 38, they are the only points in the entire performance where I have to make a preset change here and here simultaneously. When I move to those presets on the Studio Logic keyboard, I'm hitting my next pedal down here, and I'm hitting memory number 4 right here. And that happens, boom, at exactly the same time, which means this could be sending something over to the Studio Logic keyboard, again, in the realm of what we might call irrelevant data for the performance. Is that a possibility? Well, I don't know. And I don't have time to solve that, but what I did do, it did make me very conscious of that when I move to that position, to make sure I don't also maybe have a note on somewhere that I'm absolutely clear, I'm making the change and then going back to playing so that I don't have even additional stuff. Like I say, everything seemed to run very smoothly through the run-throughs I did yesterday, and we'll see again this evening when I do some run-throughs after I finish up with this video and my paperwork I have to do for what I did earlier today. So just looking at this setup and how I can further simplify it and make it more user-friendly. You know, Hopwerk, and maybe I'll show you like a screenshot in tomorrow's video so you can see what that looks like. Hopwerk is a pipe organ simulator, and within it, it has all of the traditional controls that a pipe organ would have. One of the things is thumb pistons. So if this was actually a pipe organ keyboard, I would have these buttons all along here that would represent different presets on the pipe organ itself. Now, the way I'm accessing that function is through program changes being sent from the Studio Logic keyboard when I hit the preset change. That primarily happens when I need something in Hopwerk to change. It's also sending the program changes for the effects processors. What would actually work better, both musically for me playing the music and functionally for the simplicity of the system, would be have two basic MIDI controllers. Have effects processors that can make changes from their own foot switches. Have some kind of arrangement for thumb pistons, that's what I'm used to doing when I'm playing a pipe organ, that would make the changes in Hopwerk directly. That way we don't have all this mixing of stuff, of information having to come together, and some of it goes here and some of it goes there. These rack-mounted effects processors, I could control those from a little MIDI foot controller. I mean, that's something that could be done. Also, the same company makes a much better effects processor that is a floor box with buttons on it. And a couple of those would replace these, and it would actually be a better setup, a better effects processors, because they'd be newer. These are kind of old and they have some quirks to them that make them a little bit challenging to do. There are effects processing. There is effects processing in the Boss RC600. However, it's not really arranged in a way that I can take advantage of it. And the thing is, that's already handling the audio interfacing and all of the looping. So maybe it's best if we just let that lie and let it do that part of the setup, and leave that alone and not try to ask it to do anything more. What I can kind of foresee is maybe continuing to use the Studio Logic keyboard as the main keyboard, but adding like an X key setup here to make preset changes for the pipe organ sounds, and then up here having just a basic MIDI controller that's only going to do that secondary keyboard work and eliminate this secondary sound system. In order to do that, like I alluded to at the beginning, having a custom organ setup in Hopvert, which is possible, would really work best, because yes, I'm using pipe organ sounds in my music, but I'm using them in a completely different way by looping and doing all of the effects processing and rhythmic things. Having an organ set up in the traditional way with the divisions divided by keyboard and pedal board, and each of the divisions being unique, is not necessarily the best format for me to play my music. And so after I get through the festival, I'm going to leave all of this alone, because at the end of April I have another performance to do of the same music. But I am going to dig into Hopvert, and I'm going to see about making that custom organ package, and would that make it further simplified. And I'm also going to look into better effects processors to streamline that process. That would eliminate this foot pedal thing for program up and down, and just make it more user friendly all the way around. So, you know, that's kind of the thing when we go into something and we want to do something unique and different. Well, we end up using stuff in a way that it really wasn't intended to be used. And so that's part of the fun of being in the arts, of being a creative person, is you get to look at things in a new way and come up with new ideas. And then you get to challenge the engineers who designed all of this stuff, thinking, well, we designed this to do this, 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 and this. And I said, well, why, if you think about it, you maybe want to do this as well. But at any rate, things are coming together. It does make me nervous that this thing might shut down in the middle of a show. Now, the fact of the matter is, every time I step up to any musical instrument and play it, whether it's a grand piano on stage, a pipe organ in a church somewhere, or any number of other things that I've done as a live performance, there's always a chance that something major is going to go wrong. In fact, I've had that happen in the middle of a show, where the pipe organ failed or the piano busted a string, and and all these kinds of things. But that's the risk of live performance. And but I'm hopeful I'll get lucky and everything will go smooth. So, at any rate, tonight I'm going to set up the speakers and get that part going, make sure that's all like it needs to be, and do some more run-throughs of the show. And then tomorrow I'll make another video and give you a report back of how things are going. So, see you next time.